In the news tonight, His Majesty leaves to the United States to attend a nuclear security summit hosted by the U.S. President in Washington with the participation of 56 nations and organizations. China appoints its first special envoy for the Syria crisis, a diplomat who served as ambassador to Iran in a bid to support the mediation efforts of UN Special Envoy Staffan de Mistura. And Egypt's prime minister says the man who hijacked the Egypt airplane and diverted it to Cyprus was a national who had asked to meet European Union officials. Good evening and welcome to a new edition of the news. Here are the details. His Majesty King Abdullah left to the United States, where he will take part in the 2016 Nuclear Security Summit to be held in Washington this week. U.S. President Barack Obama is hosting the summit on Thursday with the participation of 56 nations and organizations, including a number of world leaders. Aside from talks on nuclear security, Obama plans to convene a special session focused on Daesh, including bolstering security in urban centers and preventing the terror group from obtaining chemical or radiological weapons. This week, some meetings marked the fourth nuclear security summit after Obama announced in 2009 he was spearheading an international effort to secure nuclear material. The three previous sessions were held in Washington, Seoul, and The Hague. Here at home, His Royal Highness Prince Faisal bin Al Hussein was sworn in as regent. Prime Minister Abdullah Mansour received the new chief of the IMF mission to Jordan, Martin Serisola, and his accompanying delegation, including outgoing chief Christina Costiel. While thanking Costiel for her efforts during her term in Jordan, Mansour said Jordan relies on the IMF expertise as its reports play a key role in any country's chance of getting loans and grants from donor countries. The meeting also reviewed scopes of future cooperation programs with the IMF that serve the national economy. In attendance were the Ministers of Planning and International Cooperation and Finance, as well as the central bank governor. In the West Bank, the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs is alarmed by the rapid rise in West Bank demolitions, saying recent dismantlements earlier this month are among the highest rates of demolitions it has recorded since 2009. Supported by court order, Israeli forces bulldozed the homes of 12 families and a school in Khirbetana, north of the occupied West Bank, leaving the families homeless and the children with nowhere to study. 2 weeks later, the Israeli army demolished 17 homes, pens for sheep, goats and chickens, and 5 outhouses. It was the third demolition in the same area, the first having taken place last month when Israeli forces dismantled the homes of 6 families in the community. The European Union came and built a temporary classroom and other prefabricated structures, an effort to help a community of around 40 families. The area in part of the West Bank is marked Area C, which is under full Israeli control. Israel says the community is near a military firing zone, a usual justification given to carry out forced removal of Palestinians from the land. UN Assistant Secretary General and Head of Humanitarian Affairs for the Palestinian territories, Robert Piper, said that declaring the Area A a firing zone is just an excuse.
Well, this particular community has now been through 3 rounds of demolitions just for this year. We're at the end of March and they've had 3 rounds of visits by bulldozers. They've destroyed the school, they've destroyed 22 homes, they've destroyed the livelihoods of almost 100 people in this particular community. Fortunately, the rights of Palestinians in these zones are frankly being denied.
Syrian President Bashar al-Assad said the success of the army and Russia's military support will accelerate rather than hinder the political settlement in the country. In an interview with Russia's official news agency published today, Assad said the Syrian government delegation has displayed flexibility at the Geneva peace talks with the opposition so as not to miss a single chance for settlement. He also said the government's position on political settlement has been the same before and after Moscow's support. In Moscow, meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin said the Russian Defense Ministry started preparations for the demining of Syria's Palmyra, which was recaptured from Daesh on Sunday. And China appointed its first special envoy for the Syria crisis in a bid to support the mediation efforts of UN Special Envoy Staffan de Mistura. The Chinese envoy, Sheikh Xiaoyan, is a career diplomat who has served as ambassador to Iran and later to Ethiopia and the African Union. China's foreign ministry said that Xiaoyan will help enhance mediation efforts in peace talks, adding that as a permanent member in the UN Security Council, China has been dedicated to a political settlement in Syria. In its efforts to get more involved in Syria, China recently hosted Syria's foreign minister and opposition members. Meanwhile, the United Nations says it aims to resettle more than 450,000 Syrian refugees, about 1/10 of those now in Syria's neighboring countries, by the end of 2018, but that it needs to overcome widespread fear and political manipulation. The UNHCR is urging countries worldwide to take in Syrians for resettlement as well as for humanitarian reasons of family reunification, medical treatment or scholarships to complete their studies. More than 4.8 million Syrian refugees have fled the war to Jordan, Lebanon, Egypt and Turkey. An additional 500,000 people are estimated to have fled to Europe, especially Germany, since early 2015. At the closed Greece-Macedonia border, migrants continue to protest, refusing to move to reception camps set up by Greek authorities. Few only boarded the waiting buses to take them to the official centers. Officials say only 1,000 have left out of the estimated 12,000 people stranded at the makeshift camp. They say they are determined to clear the makeshift camp without force. Aid agencies say information on the procedure of moving to official centers is confusing and inadequate, and migrants say it takes too long. Here at home, some 100 new Syrian refugees crossed the border in the last 24 hours, fleeing the war at home. Border guards received the newcomers and provided them with emergency assistance as Royal Medical Services personnel tended to the sick or wounded among them before they were escorted to their respective shelters and camps. Over to Iraq, and 7 people were killed and 27 wounded in a suicide bomb attack in central Baghdad. The suicide bomber blew himself up near a gathering of workers in Tayran Square in the capital. 1 kilometer away there was a sit-in held by supporters of Shiite cleric Muqtada al-Sadr to demand political reforms. Daesh claimed responsibility for the attack. Egyptian Prime Minister Sharif Ismail said the man who hijacked the Egypt airplane and diverted it to Cyprus was an Egyptian national, Saifuddin Mustafa, who had asked to meet European Union officials or to fly on to another airport. He told reporters that authorities would question the hijacker to ascertain his true motives, which until now remain a mystery. Cypriot officials had said the hijacking did not appear to be an act of terrorism, but rather motivated by a personal grievance against the hijacker's ex-wife, who is living in Cyprus. The Egypt airplane was flying from Alexandria to Cairo, but forced to land in Cyprus by the man who claimed to be wearing an explosive belt that turned out to be fake. He was arrested after giving himself up.
The man believed to be the hijacker of the Egypt airplane gave himself up after an hours-long standoff on the airport tarmac in Cyprus. Officials say the man had forced the plane to land there while en route from Alexandria to Cairo. 81 passengers and crew were on board.
There's someone coming out of the plane.
After negotiations, everyone on board was freed except 3 passengers and 4 crew members. Some later escaped. Conflicting theories have emerged about the man's motive, although authorities say that for now they're focusing on safety.
No, I think it's a good question, but let's address this after we finalize the incident and after we make sure that our people are safe and after we investigate how this passenger was able to get whatever equipment he has on board.
That equipment was originally believed to be an explosive belt. It was later determined to be a fake. Officials in Cyprus say they don't believe the incident was related to terrorism, but say an investigation is underway.
Pakistani authorities detained more than 5,000 suspects, then released most of them during the past 2 days since a suicide bomber hit a park in the city of Lahore. A provincial minister told a news conference in Lahore that investigators were keeping 216 suspects in custody pending further investigation. At least 160 raids were carried out by police, counter-terrorism and intelligence agents. Details of the sweeping raids aimed at anyone suspected of extremism came as the Taliban, which claimed responsibility for the attack, issued a new threat today, singling out the media. The bombing, which occurred as people celebrated the advent of Easter, left at least 72 dead. It was Pakistan's deadliest attack since a 2014 school massacre, also claimed by the Taliban, killed 134 students. In financial news, U.S. stocks opened lower today and oil prices skidded nearly 3%. Crude oil prices continued to fall as oversupply fear resurfaced, while stocks and the U.S. dollar were little changed. The Dow Jones Industrial Average was down 0.13%, the S&P 500 fell 0.1%, and the Nasdaq Composite declined by 0.23%. U.S. crude oil slipped to $38.10 a barrel, with investors concerned that the global supplies of crude remain too high to maintain prices near $40 a barrel. On the other hand, European stock markets rose as stronger insurance shares offset weaker commodity-linked stocks, which fell in tandem with lower metal and oil prices. The pan-European FTSE Euro First 300 index closed up 0.5%, while the Eurozone Blue Chip Europe Stocks 50 index advanced 0.6%. If you've ever fancied spending the night in an underwater bedroom surrounded by sharks, then this could be the chance of a lifetime. A few lucky contest winners will be granted this chance through an event organized by the Aquarium of Paris and holiday rental website Airbnb. Contestants must enter the competition through the rental sharing website and write a bit about themselves.
Sharks are really misunderstood. People need to understand that sharks are not dangerous. There's only dangerous behaviors with sharks. So it's a great opportunity to show people that you can swim with sharks, you can be with sharks and nothing bad happens. But also that we need to protect the sharks because they are like crucial for the ecosystem. If the shark disappear, we disappear basically. They are very useful for the ecosystem.
The FC Barcelona squad paid tribute to Dutch legend Johan Cruyff at the new camp at a memorial where Cruyff's family was also present. Earlier in the day, FC Barcelona players held a minute of silence in memory of Cruyff at the training session. As a player, Cruyff was the embodiment of Dutch total football, a fluid style of play focused on ball position and rapid passing and involving all members of the team in both attack and defense. The possession-based playing style he promoted as Barcelona coach has been widely copied and is credited with underpinning Barca's subsequent successes as well as those of the Spanish national team. Cruyff emerged as one of the world's greatest in the early 70s when he was named European Footballer of the Year in 1971, 73 and 74. He was also an exceptional coach, creating the Barcelona Dream Team that won 4 straight Spanish titles and their first European Cup between 1991 and 1994. Top-ranked Serena Williams had her 20-match winning streak in the Miami Open halted when she lost to Russia's Svetlana Kuznetsova in the 4th round. Williams seemed to fade after a long first set that lasted nearly an hour. The 15th-seeded Kuznetsova beat Williams with defense, repeatedly extending points until she forced a mistake. The Russian finished with only 18 unforced errors to 55 for Williams. She took Williams down 6-7, 6-1, 6-2. And finally, it continues to be cold for the rest of tonight with partly cloudy skies and light variable winds. Tomorrow, a slight rise in temperature is in the forecast, with temperatures in Amman reaching a high of 17 degrees Celsius, creating fair conditions with westerly moderate winds. In the Gulf of Aqaba, warm conditions prevail tomorrow with northerly moderate winds and slightly high seas. Here are temperatures forecast for tonight and tomorrow. And to close, here's a reminder of the day's top stories. His Majesty leads to the United States to attend a nuclear security summit hosted by the U.S. President in Washington with the participation of 56 nations and organizations. China appoints its first special envoy for the Syria crisis, a diplomat who served as ambassador to Iran in a bid to support the mediation efforts of UN Special Envoy Staffan de Mistura. And Egypt's Prime Minister says the man who hijacked the Egypt airplane and diverted it to Cyprus was a national, was asked to meet European Union officials. And with this, we come to the end of this edition of the news. I'm Ali Tuqan. Thank you for joining us and have a good night.